Rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders has made a bold vow. He's stepping away from driving altogether after being cited for multiple speeding violations this month. "I don't drive anymore," Sanders stated plainly. "When you're young, 21, 22, 23, you crave speed. And the kinds of cars we get, Challengers, Hellcats, Durangos, Trackhawks, that's the lifestyle. But eventually you realize you need to slow down, reassess, and become more aware of your environment." The controversy surrounding Sanders' traffic infractions is still generating headlines, and now Shannon Sharpe and Ocho Cinco have jumped into the fray, adding fuel to the fire with startling revelations and unapologetic takes. On a recent podcast, Sharpe revealed that Sanders has officially chosen to stop driving himself altogether after being pulled over twice in rapid succession. The weight of that decision sent shockwaves across the sports world. Ocho, never one to hold back, also chimed in, framing the situation as a natural consequence of youth. But what impressed him most was Sanders' willingness to accept responsibility. He blasted the media's reaction, arguing that the entire situation is being sensationalized. Whether it was noon or midnight, maybe he was just trying to make it to the stadium on time, Ocho said. Either way, deciding to take an Uber, hire a driver, whatever it may be, is a wise move. That shows growth. Ocho praised Shedeur's composure, applauding the young QB for making such a mature and forward-thinking choice. According to him, this isn't just about avoiding traffic tickets. It's a strategic pivot toward personal growth and long-term development. More importantly, it's a move that shields Sanders from the constant scrutiny of critics who lurk, waiting to pounce on any mistake. In Ocho's eyes, it's a calculated demonstration of maturity and emotional discipline, one that has the power to reshape the narrative entirely. And he's right. Sanders' full acceptance of blame is rare in today's sports world. Rather than offer weak justifications or dodge responsibility, Shedeur tackled the situation head-on. With poise and transparency, he acknowledged the gravity of the situation and accepted the weight of being a public figure. He didn't downplay the matter, he didn't sweep it under the rug, he took full ownership. And what's even more commendable is his commitment to learning from it. Sanders reassured everyone that this was a lesson learned and not a mistake that will be repeated. Now remember, we're talking jerseys and shorts, not full pads. He hasn't consistently faced a first-team defense. But the tools, the reads, the processing, the arm talent, it's all there. And while no one's penciling him in as the Week 1 starter over Joe Flacco, let's be crystal clear. If Flacco doesn't take the opening snap, the only name that deserves to be in the QB2 conversation is Shedeur Sanders. But Sanders isn't the lone rookie turning heads. Quinton Quinshon Judkins is making the game look effortless, as in NFL ready from day one, effortless. The way he's slicing through the defense, the burst he shows coming out of the backfield, it's textbook. Sports Illustrated nailed it when they labeled Judkins as a prototypical NFL running back. This isn't about potential, it's about proven readiness, strength, patience, explosiveness. He's got the complete package. And let's not forget the landscape in Cleveland's running back room. With uncertainty swirling and opportunities wide open, Judkins isn't just knocking on the door, he's about to bulldoze it down. He could be carrying the load for this offense far sooner than expected. Then there's Carson Swessinger, another young up-and-comer stealthily emerging from the shadows. You don't often hear about rookie linebackers commanding the spotlight early, but Swessinger is the exception. His football IQ is off the charts. Jordan Hicks couldn't stop raving about his instincts, his play recognition, his ability to drop back into coverage, his relentless pursuit of the ball. This guy is already being whispered about as a potential defensive signal caller, a future green dot. If you're a Browns fan searching for the next defensive leader, you might want to keep your eyes on No 53. And let's not forget Jerry Jeudy, who's not just cementing himself as a reliable wideout, but emerging as the guy in the receiver corps. The chemistry he's building with Joe Flacco, it's real. Locker room camaraderie, daily conversations, on-field synergy, it's all happening. Jeudy is proving he's ready to embrace the WR1 role with Elijah Moore out of the picture, and he's doing it with crisp footwork, sharp routes, and the veteran savvy that can transform this passing game into a legitimate threat, assuming the quarterback play holds up. But for every riser, someone inevitably slides. And the biggest eyebrow raiser? Deontay Hardy, a complete no-show at voluntary OTAs. Now yes, it's technically voluntary, but when you're a journeyman who's bounced from the Steelers to the Texans to the Ravens and now the Browns, you can't afford to miss reps, especially not with a new team, a new coaching staff, and a new quarterback room. This was his chance to stake a claim, and instead, he's left fans with more questions than answers. Let's be honest, if it doesn't work in Cleveland, where does it work? And then there's the elephant in the room, Deshaun Watson. Harsh? Maybe, but real? Absolutely. Watson was absent from OTAs, and the vibe surrounding his status feels like a slow fade to irrelevance. 2 rookie quarterbacks have been drafted, Flacco was brought in, Kenny Pickett was traded for, the writing's on the wall, and it's in bold font. When you combine his injury history, off-field controversies, and declining performance, the road back to being the guy looks like a tightrope walk. Watson at QB5, that's not just a slide, that's a free fall. And speaking of Kenny Pickett, what exactly is his role in all of this? Is he an insurance policy, trade bait, maybe both? He's stuck in a limbo between starter and backup, but the arrow is definitely pointing down. He's QB2 right now, but with Sanders and Gabriel flashing promise and Flacco locked in as QB1, Pickett might just be the odd man out. His 2024 tape? Mediocre at best. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 5 appearances. That doesn't exactly scream franchise quarterback, it whispers backup. And perhaps that's the hidden opportunity here. If Pickett fails to climb the depth chart, maybe he finds new value elsewhere. On the trade block, the Browns could potentially reclaim a draft pick, maybe a 5th or 6th rounder. At this stage, that might be the most strategic outcome for both parties. But let's pump the brakes for a second, because there's so much more to unpack. Well, you've just gotten the first wave of seismic shakeups from OTAs, the names you need to monitor, the futures that might already be sealed. But we're only halfway through. The second half is coming, and it's going to plunge even deeper into what all of this means for the 2025 season and how this roster might actually crystallize by week 1. Because when you look closely, these OTAs didn't just offer a sneak peek at who's leading, they gave us clarity on what's likely headed our way. Browns fans, make no mistake, this is a team at a pivotal crossroads. Every position group is being redefined, and the coaching staff isn't pulling any punches. They're handing real reps to the rookies, they're challenging the veterans, and in some cases, they're making it crystal clear. The pecking order is no longer built on reputation. It's strictly performance or bust. Let's revisit Shedeur Sanders for a moment, because his story is just getting started. If you're the Cleveland Browns, and your once prized first-round franchise quarterback is on the brink of irrelevance, then the 5th rounder, who's stacking impressive days in OTAs, suddenly becomes more than just a developmental project. This isn't merely about how Sanders looked in shorts and shells. This is about how quickly he's processing reads, how decisively he's delivering the ball. The coaching staff isn't oblivious. They see the spark. They see the future. And let's be real, if Sanders carries this momentum into minicamp and preseason, the notion of him leapfrogging Kenny Pickett on the depth chart isn't some hot take. It's inevitable. Now pivot back to that running back room. Judkins is only the tip of the iceberg. His meteoric rise is putting intense pressure on the rest of the backfield. And here's the kicker. The Browns aren't interested in slow cooking his development. They're prepping him for immediate impact. Imagine what that means. If Nick Chubb's return is delayed or managed cautiously, Judkins could easily inherit the lion's share of first-team reps. That dazzling outside cut for a massive gain, that wasn't luck. That was vision, instincts, and elite burst. These are traits that don't need time to mature. They erupt instantly. And that's exactly what he's doing, showing up every single rep. Let's flip the focus back to defense. We already highlighted Carson Schlesinger as a budding star. And here's why you should care. This isn't just a rookie flashing in June. This is a young linebacker already calling out formations, already reading the game like a seasoned pro. He's not hesitating. He's anticipating. Coaches crave that. Teammates respect that. And when you're trying to earn a role in an already stacked linebacker core, that's the kind of intangible that separates the average from the exceptional. Schlesinger has it. And it's the kind of presence that could enable the Browns to get more creative with their defensive packages, more speed, more coverage flexibility, more unpredictability to confound opposing offenses. And let's talk about Jerry Jeudy. The headlines might focus on his potential breakout, but let's dig deeper. This is about chemistry. He's connecting with Flacco, sure, but he's also becoming the heartbeat of that wide receiver room. There's no more splitting the WR1 spotlight with Elijah Moore. This is Judy's stage now. The connection with Flacco, it's not just about timing routes, it's about trust, about seamless communication. Judy is poised to finally fulfill the promise of that first-round pick. Denver invested in him, and Cleveland desperately needs him too. Because with a potentially shifting quarterback hierarchy, a reliable WR1 who can consistently create separation and move the chains is invaluable. But let's not sugarcoat the dark cloud. Deshaun Watson. That kind of accountability speaks volumes about how Shedeur is handling the immense pressure of the spotlight. "I made some poor choices," he admitted, "and I've got to own that. I've really learned from those around me who've kept it real." Beside him, one of his close friends spoke up in his defense, reminding critics that Sanders is still incredibly young. "People are quick to judge," his friend said, "but this doesn't define who Shedeur is. It was a lapse in judgment, not a character flaw." But even then, Shedeur didn't hide behind youth or excuses. He calmly admitted he made a mistake. He emphasized the importance of owning your flaws, learning from them, and using them as fuel for growth. That's not just maturity, it's leadership. And Shedeur Sanders is proving step by step that he's not just ready for the NFL spotlight, he's already owning it. Former Browns coach Manini isn't buying the hysteria, and he's calling out Colin Cowherd for it. After Cowherd dramatically claimed he was selling all his stock in Shedeur Sanders due to a minor traffic violation, Manini didn't hesitate to fire back with a smirk. "You're seriously dumping your stock over this? Really?" Manini made it crystal clear. Cleveland's quarterback room is far from stable, and Shedeur Sanders might be exactly what the Browns need, a composed, high-upside talent with a calm demeanor under pressure. "You don't discard raw talent over a late-night speeding ticket," he emphasized. "This is nothing." To Manini, Cowherd's reaction wasn't just exaggerated, it was pure theatrics. He doubled down. "Would I offload my belief in the kid like you just did? Not over 2 speeding tickets." Especially not in light of the legal chaos this quarterback room has endured the past few years. This is trivial, but Manini's remarks also unveiled a deeper pattern, one many are starting to notice with Colin Cowherd. Just weeks ago, Cowherd was singing Shedeur's praises, raving about his OTA performances, mechanics, poise, and sky-high IQ. But now, after one slip-up, he's flipped the script, recasting Sanders as a liability. The inconsistency is hard to ignore, and Manini wasn't about to let it slide. He subtly reminded everyone that Cowherd has had to eat his words before when it comes to prematurely doubting Shedeur Sanders. Here's the kicker. Despite having the fewest reps of all Browns QBs, Sanders was the most efficient. Flacco, 9 of 14, 1 TD, 1 INT Pickett. 9 of 16, 0 TDs. Gabriel, 11 of 16, 2 TDs, 1 INT Sanders. Sanders 11 of 9, 3 TDs. Let that sink in. So how do you go from future QB1 to untrustworthy over a single speeding citation? Mary Kay Catt, a known skeptic of Sanders, wasted no time pouncing. As soon as news of the ticket surfaced, she rushed to the mic not to offer perspective but to hammer Shedeur for his off-field choices. Consistently ignoring his on-field brilliance, she stayed on brand, weaponizing a minor mistake to reinforce her pre-existing narrative. Even worse, she later disabled the comments on her post, likely to shield herself from the flood of backlash coming her way. But it didn't stop there. Fans and former players alike began digging. They unearthed a wave of criticism over her own family's legal history, calling out the blatant double standards in her reporting. How can someone with skeletons in their own closet be so quick to brand a young man as reckless over a speeding ticket? Yes, Shedeur was going 41 and over the limit at 12:45 a.m. in the middle of a competitive four-ways QB battle. But let's zoom out. Despite the media frenzy, Shedeur has handled the situation with a level of self-awareness and maturity that many veterans lack. His decision to give up driving altogether isn't just reactionary, it's strategic. A calculated move to grow from a mistake, avoid unnecessary distractions, and stay focused on football. More importantly, he took full responsibility, no excuses, no PR spin, just ownership. And that stands in stark contrast to how most public figures handle controversy. This entire ordeal reveals something bigger. The sports media ecosystem is addicted to drama and too quick to turn teachable moments into cancellation campaigns. For young athletes, the margin for error is razor thin. The same crowd that cheers their highlights will magnify their missteps. But through it all, Shedeur's resilience has been evident. So we ask you, is the media blowing this out of proportion? Do young athletes deserve more grace to make mistakes and grow, or does their status demand a higher level of scrutiny and accountability? With strong takes from Shannon Sharp, Ocho, Cowherd, and Kat, one thing is clear. The divide on how we treat rising stars like Shedeur Sanders runs deep. But the real question is, how should we define maturity? In the mistake or in the way it's handled? Real contact, real answers. We'll see who rises, who falls, and who shocks everyone. But Browns fans, this is your moment. Your team is evolving. New faces are breaking through. And the competition is as fierce as it's ever been. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below. Can Shedeur Sanders secure the QB2 spot? Should the Browns cut ties with Watson and Pickett now, or hold out until midseason? Who's your breakout star for 2025? And if you appreciated this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. This is your one-stop shop for everything Cleveland Browns. We'll be here all season long with inside scoops, fearless predictions, and every must-know update. What if I told you that the destiny of the Cleveland Browns 2025 season might not rest solely on the shoulders of one man, but rather on the collective impact of three, each standing at a crucial intersection of expectations, untapped potential, and mounting adversity? Imagine behind the scenes of one of the NFL's most dynamic defensive front sevens, a story quietly taking shape. One of leadership off the field, a rookie walking a dangerous tightrope, and a megastar re-signing not just for accolades, but for responsibility. I'll unpack every angle in detail, but first, smash that like button and let's dive right in. Let's talk about Myles Garrett. The Cleveland Browns didn't just double down on their franchise cornerstone this offseason. They tripled down. They inked Garrett to a staggering $160 million 0-cents contract, instantly crowning him the highest-paid non-quarterback in the entire league. This wasn't just an investment, it was a declaration. The Browns are betting the entire defensive identity on his presence. And with that comes a pressure that's anything but ordinary. The Steelers already feature a dependable tight end core led by Pat Freiermuth, sure hand, consistent, and a reliable possession receiver. So does it really make sense to bring in Pitts, whose skill set overlaps significantly with Freiermuth's? That's where this rumor begins to lose its shine. And let's not forget Pitt's looming contract extension. He's entering the final year of his rookie deal. Any trade would necessitate not only draft capital, but also a hefty new contract. Instead, there's increasing chatter around another name, Jonnu Smith. And this isn't idle gossip. Smith thrived under Arthur Smith in Atlanta, especially in screen-heavy packages where his yards tackle-catch prowess turned him into a nightmare for defenders. He's not only more explosive with the ball than Pitts, but also had a far more productive 2023 campaign. Plus, he brings a different dimension to the Steelers' offense compared to Freiermuth, offering a complementary skill set rather than redundant talent. Smith would seamlessly fit the Steelers' vision of deploying heavy 12 or 13 personnel, meaning multiple tight ends on the field at once, a core feature of Arthur Smith's offensive scheme. Right now, Freiermuth is solid and Darnell Washington is a fantastic blocker, but the depth behind them is questionable. Connor Hayward and others simply don't inspire enough confidence to fully commit to this tight end-centric identity. However, adding Smith would also raise a significant financial dilemma. Do the Steelers really want to commit top-tier salaries to two tight ends? Freiermuth already commands a salary north of $12 million, 0 cents annually, and Smith, coming off a Pro Bowl season, is likely seeking around $15 million, 0 cents per year. That's nearly $30 million, 0 cents, tied up in a single position group. A precarious financial gamble unless both players are featured prominently. Effectively orchestrated formations and strategic deployments would be indispensable. But beyond just tight ends, the Steelers aren't halting their pursuit of dynamic offensive weapons. There's growing speculation about a blazing fast wide receiver they've been monitoring, Trey Palmer from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This 24-year-old speedster, a sixth-round selection out of Nebraska, clocked a legitimate 4.3-second 40-yard dash, cementing his reputation as one of the league's fastest players. Palmer's allure lies in his electrifying speed and his capacity to stretch defenses vertically. Though he's not known for making contested catches, and his hands can be inconsistent, his ability to stack defensive backs and torch defenders on deep crossing routes is a tantalizing trait. Surprisingly, he's also an aggressive run blocker, an attribute Arthur Smith highly values. With Tampa Bay drafting 2 new receivers, Palmer's roster spot may be in jeopardy, opening the door for Pittsburgh to potentially secure a bargain. A late-round pick swap might be all it takes to bring him in. Palmer isn't the only name circulating. John Mechie has also been floated as a viable target. A young, cost-controlled receiver with refined route running and reliable hands. Yet if the Steelers are truly going all in, one development cannot be overlooked: the looming presence of Aaron Rodgers. There's mounting anticipation that Rodgers could sign with the Steelers before the June 10th mandatory minicamp. Should that transpire, veteran receivers like Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen, both of whom have reportedly been hesitant to commit without clarity at quarterback, could suddenly become legitimate targets. Imagine this scenario: Aaron Rodgers under center, firing passes to George Pickens, Amari Cooper, or Keenan Allen, with Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth wreaking havoc in tight end sets, while Trey Palmer blazes downfield, stretching defenses to the brink. That's an offense built to win now, an offense designed to chase championships. With Cam Hayward's career entering its twilight, the urgency is palpable. Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin have signaled clearly the time to win is now. Yet, amid all this potential wheeling and dealing, from trades for Pitts or Smith to eyeing Palmer, Cooper, or Allen, one pivotal question emerges: which move makes the most strategic sense for the Steelers right now? Steelers Nation, sound off below. Should the Steelers go all in on Jonnu Smith, Kyle Pitts, or should they prioritize upgrading the wide receiver core first? Let's dissect this rapidly evolving situation, because the decisions made in the next few weeks could define the Steelers' 2025 season, and perhaps the legacy of this front office under Omar Khan. Starting with Jonnu Smith, it's essential to appreciate why he's more than just a convenient option. He's a tactical chess piece, bringing athleticism, versatility, and a proven track record within Arthur Smith's system. If the Steelers truly intend to lean heavily on 12 and 13 personnel packages, they can't simply rely on Freiermuth and Darnell Washington. Jonnu's presence would allow Pittsburgh to diversify its tight end usage. He's not just a blocker or a possession target. He can line up in the backfield, shift into the slot, and become a screen threat at any moment. And this isn't just theoretical. Smith was used extensively in these roles by the Falcons in 2023, earning a Pro Bowl selection and proving he's still a dynamic asset. The goal here isn't redundancy, it's versatility. Thank you guys. See you next video.